Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Central Expressions right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy. My wonderful guest all the way from the UK is Lily Walford. I actually had a wonderful session with her yesterday, a group session, where she was talking about wonderful relationships, why we're not having them, how we connect to them, how we invite them. And it was really, really fruitful. I took a lot of notes and we're going to be talking about a lot of that today. She calls it love intelligence. She says, they love to see their clients get life-changing results and finding that loving, connected relationships, that they are both inspired and excited by having creative freedom to use their passion from psychology and behavioral change to provide that help that we ourselves once needed. And one of the beautiful things that we talked about yesterday was really what is in the way of us having a relationship. What is a relationship? Is it something we need? Do we want it? What are obstacles we put in the way? What are we really looking for? Past experiences and how they get in the way. And we're coming into a new year, and we'd like to kind of change the vibration when it comes around to our relationships and what we want out of life. And very often we just don't know how to ask ourselves those right questions. And we get too much caught up in past relationships that we just don't know how to move forward from that. And of course, first and foremost, before you have a relationship with anyone else, you've got to have one with yourself. Right, Lily? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, because most people try to skip that part of having that relationship with themselves. Because I always say you can only connect to someone as deeply as you are connected to yourself. So if you're not connected with yourself, you're going to really struggle to connect with others.
Well, you're reflecting out the wrong message, wrong invitation. It's be the light you seek, and then you will find that light that can step into your light, right?
Yes, exactly. And I think the other thing is as well, if you're from this place of not really connecting with yourself and not appreciating yourself, when you connect with others, you're going to connect from a place of need.
Yeah.
A need for validation, a need for, for approval, need for all these different things, versus just being able to actually enjoy connection.
Yeah, I don't need somebody, I would like someone.
Yes.
And it's a different approach altogether. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Such a difference.
One of the things that we brought up kind of a lot yesterday, of course, was narcissism and a few other things. We're going to get to it all, but is, asking yourself why you want a relationship.
Yes, yes. I think it's quite funny, because a lot of people forget we are wired for connection. And I think it's really important to be able to acknowledge that part, but also to acknowledge that you're not going to be compatible with everyone as well.
Right.
And I think so many people, like you're saying, because they don't know themselves, they go into relationships and try and fit the needs of other people, and then wonder why they don't feel fulfilled or happy in that relationship.
Guilty as charged.
Oh, I've been there.
And that's a great lead in actually into then inviting and attracting the narcissism. Narcissistic people are very much in it for themselves. Generally, they can be very charismatic. They can talk themselves out of or into anything. You forgive them all the time because of that. But really, bottom line is it's what's in it for them, not what's in it for you.
Yes, exactly. And I love that analogy. It's so freaking true around narcissism. I think the other thing that a lot of people forget about, because narcissism tends to be such a buzzword in the relationship and dating industry, but it's the fact that narcissism is actually almost like a deformity within the brain. The empathy part of the brain is actually underdeveloped.
Yes.
And it's very, 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 very similar to almost autism.
Mm-hmm.
Because with autism, they're able to feel empathy, but they struggle to see it.
Or
With
express it.
yes. And then narcissism, they're able to see it, but they're not able to feel it. So from that place, they're able to go, okay, what does this do? How does this work? And they almost use it, because people always forget as well, when we're influenced or manipulated, it's not through our intelligence.
Right.
It's through our empathy. If I turn around to someone and said, oh, that's really stupid to think that way, we'd really struggle to carry on talking about that point. And that's not using that logic. It's the fear of having that disapproval or not being approved of. And that's exactly how, manipulating with someone with empathy works. And they do that so well, to the point where so many people lose themselves after those relationships, because they haven't had that space to have that self-expression, to be who they are. They almost just turn into the external hard drive of the narcissist in that relationship.
Oh, so very, very true. And one of the things, I've done quite a number of shows on narcissism, and actually 2 women in England, we broke down what is a narcissist versus sociopath, psychopath, narcissistic parenting, and then broke down what the various levels of narcissism. And it was an eye opener, most certainly. But, one of the things that we don't realize, our children, when they're born, it's purely about their survival. They don't not thinking about anyone else. It's about them, the next meal, the next this, the next that. And it's up to us to teach our children that empathy, that kindness, that lovingness, that the ability to share, that it's not all about them. Yeah, it is important to feel validated, whole, and love and everything else. We've got to be that, but we don't learn to be that if we're always hungry for attention, for need, for validation, or anything else. If we can't teach empathy to our children, how are they going to grow up empathizing with other people? Because they're still very much in that need for survival, what's in it for me type thing. And that's really kind of where a narcissist comes from.
So the empathy part, the way that we actually learn empathy is as babies, and it's through facial expressions.
Yes.
So, and often we find it's this little bit of muscle here that actually shows empathy. And there's actually a study going on that people who choose to have Botox and then have babies after the Botox will actually have children that aren't very in tune with their emotions or have that level of empathy.
Wow.
So it's very much to do with the facial expressions, because when the parent sees a baby's crying, they'll be like, worried, oh gosh, this baby's crying. And they recognize that. So, and mimic it as well. So babies love to mimic those facial expressions.
Yeah. I mean, I've got an 8.5-month-old grandson. And, when you actually have children, you're so in the midst of raising them. But, when you have a grandchild, there's more time to observe and, kind of be more integrated. And he's most certainly full of expression. And it's, it's the teaching him, no, don't do that right now. And the sad face, ow, as opposed to the happy face, and it's like, and he's going to kind of try his limits to see where those limits are, right? But the more you teach them that, the more they're going to be in tune with kindness and caring for other people's feelings through their life, and also more acknowledge their own feelings. Because I think in a lot of ways, society has told us to run away from how we feel and told us how we should be. And those should be's is so disconnected from who we really are that we're flapping in the wind all the time.
Yes, I totally agree. You think about even down to social conformity.
Oh.
Back in the caveman era, if we didn't do that, we wouldn't survive if we weren't accepted by the tribe. And there's still that whether it's biological, whether it's more of conditioning, whatever it is, there's still that element of being afraid of standing out from the crowd or going against what normally people should do.
Yes, they're not fitting in. And isn't that the same, when it comes to relationships, is that we look for people who are going to, they want me, they need me, and, they complete me.
Oh,
no. This year, I just watched kind of you know, the Bachelorette and the Paradise thing, and watching the train wrecks of relationships where, you know, nobody's really communicating. Everybody seems to be on show. You know, is this what you want from me? You know, do I make you happy? And it's like, I want to have a conversation. Anything you want, you know, and it's like, it's a
Mhm.
facade. And it's like, there are so many people that are so scared to talk from the very core, even from their
Yes.
fears or their doubts, because they're so scared to be vulnerable or to look weak, or that you won't like me anymore. And that's
Mm.
not a relationship, is it?
Well, no. And it's also a lack of self-expression.
Mm.
You know, when we come back to this connection to you, you know, it's actually being comfortable with who you are, being comfortable with actually what you want. And I think that one of the scary questions I tend to ask people that so many people struggle to answer is, what makes you happy?
Yeah. I
And
think
it's
a
like,
lot of people would say, well, what's happiness?
yeah,
Right.
yeah. And it's like, and that's sad because it shows that level of disconnect. It shows that level of, okay, doing the tick boxes, cool. I've gone to school, I've got the
Yeah.
job, I'm in the
Yes.
relationship, got married,
Yeah.
you know, whatever it
2.2
might be.
kids. Yeah. Pick a
Yes,
fence.
yes.
Yeah. Why aren't
But then,
I happy?
yes, exactly. And that's a sad point. I mean, the amount of people I've known who've been in, you know, well, not being funny, when we look around us and look at the relationships that people have, it's like, how many of those relationships that you know of would you say, I would love a relationship like that?
Oh boy, yeah. Many of the
Yeah. And
people I
it,
interview and think, oh, what a wonderful soul you are. And yes, they're married. You know, they're happy because they've done the work on themselves. You know, they
Mhm.
didn't come for someone to fix them. I've always drawn people that needed to be fixed. You know, that
Yes.
that I was there to show them who they were, to light up their life into being all they can be. And then it's like, well, I don't need you anymore. Right?
Yes.
You know,
I've been there too.
yeah.
Yeah. And there's this beautiful element of enjoying being needed.
Yes.
Like, oh, you know,
Yes.
there's a safety in that. They
Yeah.
don't need to leave me because they need me.
But and then the other equation of that is that as long as I'm in service of someone else, then I'm in purpose. You know, if for me to ask for my own needs and my own wants is selfish.
Mm. And this is the other thing, yes, because I found when I was in that mode in a relationship, was it was a way to ignore myself.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, oh gosh, when that relationship ended, and it was like, okay, I need to be alone with myself and my thoughts. It was like, oh, this is terrifying. Who
Yeah.
can I call? Who can, you know, on social media, you know, it's like, it's the level of panic
Mm,
because we don't get taught to connect with ourselves. We
yeah.
don't get taught to say, okay, what do you want? Or prioritize
Yes.
yourself. And even in
It's
a
always what you
health,
can do for everyone else, not what you can do for yourself, right?
right. And that comes down to like parental conditioning.
Mm, hmm.
Because that's where we get taught, okay, this is what I need to do to be able to get love. And
Yeah.
it'll be different for everyone. So there might
Yes.
be one that's, you know, oh, if I fell over and hurt myself, you know, that's the way I'd get love and attention.
Yeah.
If I was the child that helped a lot, you know, and oh, I'll do the cups of tea, you know, I'll get you a cup of tea, or I'll
Yeah.
do the washing up, you know, that's the way that they would get their attention and get love. You'll have people who would love to strive to achieve. Oh,
Mm,
look, I got an A today.
yeah.
and the funny thing is, that's what goes into child, you know, that's what that childhood patterning goes into the adult life,
Yeah.
but not just in our
No.
relationships.
No,
That goes into business,
yes.
friendship, everything. So when
Which
we're talking,
everything is a relationship. We're not just talking about
yes,
relationships with you know, a opposite sex or same sex, you know, that love
yes,
relationship. We're talking about even your business transactions are relationships,
yes,
right?
exactly, exactly. And it's like when we're currently always searching to fulfill that that childhood that we had. You know, we try to recreate that adult life wherever we go. So when people are going, oh, I don't know what's going on, I keep going to the same relationship again and again and
Yes.
again, it's an element of refilling, you know, when
Yeah.
fulfilling that childhood. But also, if there was an element like of having a parent that withheld affection, you might find that you've gone into relationships where that partner has, you know, withheld affection. And that tends to be a trauma pattern that we're trying to, yeah, I'm me.
Guilty. I
Right?
married my father. Entirely.
But yeah, but it's crazy, you know, it's
Yeah.
crazy when we think about it. And we tried to, you know, fix the problem that we had as a child, as an
Yes.
adult, and other
Yes.
people. It's like, okay, only if I could just do this, maybe that'd be
Yeah.
okay. That
Yeah.
maybe that would get me the attention.
Maybe they
And
would love me now.
yes.
Mm.
And the thing is, as well, like, I don't know if you found this too, but it's like taking this step from realizing it's nothing personal. Like, I used to find
Right.
everything, you know, anything that a partner did, it was like, oh,
Yes.
okay, what did I do? Is
I
everything
know.
okay? You know,
Yeah.
what's going on? And we want to take that responsibility for
Yes.
everything.
Guilt, 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 guilt.
Right?
Yes. I like the John Rules four agreements. Speak your word with integrity. Don't assume, ask. Don't take everything personally. It's their projection.
Yes.
Don't take it on. And simply do your best based on, you know, what you truly unnaturally feel is your best. And there are four good codes to go by.
Yes, I couldn't
Especially
agree.
not taking it personally.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the other thing I created the 4 C's of to a healthy relationship.
Mhm.
This has been like super popular since I've launched it, and it's about the first one's about compatibility. So
Huge.
compatibility need to be, yes, super important. So we've actually got a compatibility matrix that we take people through in order to meet the one. And as a result of that, we've had people meet the one within, you know, just under 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. And obviously we've got things like communication, having that openness and that freedom to be able to say the things that we need to express ourselves. The next one is consideration, because if there's no consideration for each other, well, you know, where's the relationship? And the last one, and this is where most people tend to get it wrong, and it's collaboration. I don't agree with any of the compromise stuff. I don't agree with that, because that means that someone's suffering and they're not getting what they need. But I believe in collaboration. But there's a step that you need to get right before you can collaborate.
I would add another C there. Compassion.
Compassion. Yeah, true.
Because if we're not compassionate in our communication, if we're not compassionate even in the collaboration, if we're not compassionate in our consideration, how are we going to find that compatibility?
Very true. And the compatibility side of things is based on it's almost like when we look at love, especially long-term love, it's a journey.
Yeah.
You're finding someone who wants similar things to you, who's going to end up at the same zip code or postcode. You're looking for someone who wants a similar lifestyle, so you have a similar mode of transport. You want to find the person that has similar taste in music, so you're living by similar life rules. It's finding all these different things, because if you're going into a relationship and you're both putting in 2 different zip codes, or you're trying to drive in 2 different vehicles, or you're trying to fight over the radio, well, that's going to be an issue, and it's going to make the journey harder.
Yes.
And
somebody's going to have to give up their lifestyle, their home, there's something else. And I gave up my lifestyle for you, right?
Right. But kind of going back to the collaboration piece. So like when we have a look at where you actually need to be in order to collaborate in a healthy way, it's actually you need to be a whole human being to begin with.
Yes.
What I mean by that is that you need to be accountable for your happiness. You need to be accountable for your goals. You need to be accountable for your emotions, all these different things. Because if you're not at that stage, you're going to end up going into something that's codependent, where you feel responsible for someone else's happiness. And, whenever you want to talk about something or resolve anything, and you go, I really don't like it when you said that. And they go, well, I didn't say that. There's no accountability to work with.
Right. We can be our own worst enemy, right? And our own inner disconglomeration can bring about our own dysfunction, which we project on others, and then we blame them for how we feel.
Yes, totally agree.
That doesn't make a good relationship. At the same time, though, we want to know that we can be vulnerable about our fears, about our concerns, about our insecurities, and be able to share that in trust with the person we've chosen to love without it being thrown back in our face.
Yes, completely. And I think it comes back to this level of expectations. It's like when we share things, what do we actually need? And often, and this is quite a funny pattern with men and women, often women just want to be able to get it off their chest and just get it out there. And they don't want anything else but just a listening ear.
Or not a hug.
Yeah, exactly.
I got you.
Yeah, and what tends to go wrong is men love to step in and fix it. And this causes horrible butting of heads scenario.
Yes.
So it's like almost allowing yourself to say, okay, what's the expectations of this? What do you actually need? And also being able to communicate that. Like, look, okay, I need you to listen because I'm struggling right now about this scenario. Can I talk to you about it?
Yeah.
It's okay to set the parameters of what you need.
Yes.
I've even got a friend who, when he talks about his wife, and he shared with me what it's like when they talk things through, and he actually has to ask his wife, saying, okay, is this just a listening conversation or do you want me to solve it? And it's finding this way to work and collaborate together in a way that works well for the relationship.
Yes. I think the fixing it, I've in my profession, I've been there to help people heal themselves, see themselves, embrace themselves. So, I could go away on holiday and find myself a little corner to read a book, and I'll end up having somebody drawn to me. It's just the way it is. And so, I've had, people who fell in love with me for that kind of person who I am, then resent me for being it. Right. So it is, you want to have somebody, if they celebrate who you are, that celebration goes beyond, because it's like, oh yeah, you did this for me, you did that for me, now I resent you because you know too much about me. Right. And I want to go and take this new person and give it to someone else.
Yeah, and it kind of falls into the pattern of, do you love the person or do you love the potential?
Or do you love the solutions that they've given you, the reflection they've given of you, and you've now stepped into yourself and you feel really good, and you're looking like, well, when I look at you, I'm reminded of what I was.
Yeah, and it's that level of vulnerability.
Yeah. I think, the greatest gift you can give yourself and to give anyone else is your vulnerability. But that big word trust comes into play. How do you trust people with that vulnerability? What are the signs that you can trust someone with that vulnerability?
Yes, so one of the things that we do, we're able to teach people how to read body language at a level where you can basically see the truth better than a polygraph machine. And of course, it's really important to understand what you're looking at and what you're looking for. And there's loads of different combinations of this. So if I said, okay, there's certain body language to look for, there's not just one thing that you can look for in order to say, okay, that's definitely it. It's a combination of body languages that you're looking for. So one thing that I think is really important when you're around someone and you're wondering whether to trust them, the first thing I'd say is just feel into your body. Okay, before you learn any of this stuff, feel into your body, because your body's going to tell you, okay, is this right? Is this wrong? And what we tend to do is
a little tingle antenna.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And what we tend to do is we tend to ignore it.
I know.
We tend to go, okay, nope, maybe, give this person the benefit of doubt, or go ahead for it anyway. And this sort of comes back to childhood. This comes back to when we turn around and go, oh, Mum, I don't like that man over there. And they turn around and say, oh, don't be silly. He's brought you a lovely Christmas present. Go and say thank you.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. That's how we play it out.
Yeah.
But going back to the body language, there's a couple of things that you can look at. And what I would say is, when you're looking at the body language, look for at least 3, because that will give you a better read. So I'll give you 3 that you can look for, and look for these together. So the first one is blink rate. So when you're having a look at how many times someone blinks, you're kind of getting a little bit of a baseline of where they're at. So if they're slow blinking, it shows that they're really engaged and they're listening. If they are blinking more than 12 blinks per minute, That shows that they're stressed. That shows a possible adrenaline spike, which happens when we lie. So it could be that person's stressed, or it could be that they're lying. If they're lying, there's going to be 3 other things that are going to happen at the same time. So the other thing that you can look for as well is lip compression. And that's when we purse our lips, when we push our lips together. So we go, yeah, a bit like that. So if we said something on the lines of, oh, how's the new job going? Go, yeah, it's great, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Yes.
and that shows that we're withholding something emotional.
Right.
Okay, so
I'm not going to speak any further on it. Yep.
Yes, yeah. And then the other one is digital flexion. So if we're feeling really comfortable, we're going to have our hands out, we're going to be expressed. Even if our hands are laying on the table or something like that, the fingers are going to be extended if we feel comfortable. If we're not, our fingers automatically go into our fists.
Yes, clench.
Okay, even if it's just a little bit. And that's just showing, okay, we're not feeling comfortable, we're retracting. So if you said something like, let's say you're on a date and, you say, okay, I'm looking for a long-term relationship. And they go, yeah, me too. And you see their hands going, that's going to give you a big indication.
Yeah, I mean, like that, you did that for just the listeners right now. It's me too, hands clenched, lips posed, and moving the body back.
Yeah.
Right.
And the thing is, like, these are just a few. I think there's, gosh, probably over 100 that we go through in our academy that you can look out for.
Yeah. There's two, excuse me. When a person feels relaxed, the shoulders are down, the smile is there, the arms are open, you can feel they're engaged.
Yes.
They're engaged.
Yes.
But then there's also that person, back to the narcissist, the person that's very egocentric. They are very, very good at appearing charming, really into you, right? Mm-hmm. They've kind of got that smoothie down, but there's almost what I call a slimy antenna that can go up. Like, oh, this just feels a little too slimy-ish, where it's like, are they for real? They're laying on the butter so much that it's like, agreeing with everything, they're complimenting you up one or the other, and it's like, okay, it's, can I trust this? And that really goes back to those instincts, isn't it? Because let's face it, that first date can be very, very awkward. Nobody really quite know what to say or what to do. You're navigating at this point, right? You're learning to read each other. It's okay to have nerves. It's okay to kind of like, trip over yourself. That's honest reaction. So, but, you can also tell when somebody is just a little too smooth.
Yes. Well, it's a really easy way of seeing if someone's a narcissist or not. Really, really simple. And it comes back to, like we were talking about the facial expressions with babies. So a narcissist, when they're a teenager, they start to realize that actually they're slightly different to everyone around them. So they have to start to learn how to integrate. So what we find is with facial expressions, there's a difference between a genuine facial expression and a negative one. So if someone's genuinely happy, they don't suddenly go, oh, afterwards. Yeah. It gradually moves off the face. It doesn't suddenly just disappear. So, and this is exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for genuineness. And the only way you're going to have genuine emotions is if there's that level of empathy.
Yeah.
So when we look at a narcissist and we tell them a really sad story, and we're like, oh my gosh, they lost the job and this happened and that happened. If we're telling a really sad story, people are going to start to empathize and show those facial expressions. But what a narcissist would do is suddenly switch the conversation, or the transition will be too fast. Yeah. And that shows that there's not that genuine emotion there.
They're not truly listening or caring.
Yes. And the other thing that's a huge red flag is not being able to take the answer no. Yeah.
Wanting to be in control of everything.
Yes. And it can be so subtle. It can be so subtle. It could be that you've asked someone to do something a certain way and they've gone ahead and done something completely different, done it a completely different way. It could be that you've asked if you could go on a date on a certain day and they've said, no, let's move it to this day. It can be just really subtle things where they've stopped you from doing the things that you want. And if you're a polite, agreeable person, you're not going to think about it. You're going to go, oh, okay, yes, I'll move that around and I will do it that, you know, even though it's not easy for me and it's more easy for you on that day, fine.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, where are those boundaries? You know, we can make a compromise, right?
Yes.
And if there isn't that flexibility there, it's a warning sign, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
You know, I think, you know, we talked about it, you know, at the beginning there, but really, we've all got some baggage. It doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, you know, how young you are, we've all carrying some sort of baggage. The last thing we want to do is bring that baggage to a relationship, right? On the other hand, if you are willing to go through the process to clear that baggage, to understand it, maybe there's some scars left. There'll always be scars. And you're open and honest about that in a relationship, right? It's like, it isn't about talking about your ex or this or that, and I'm not going to tolerate that. You know, that is not invitational. But it's like, I just have to let you know, I've had a rocky relationship. I've, you know, gone through some stuff. I'm working on myself to improve, right? But don't take things personally if I feel a little insecure.
Yeah, and that's okay, and that's okay. That's a perfect way, like you said, that vulnerability. And I think just to add on that is to not treat someone like your counselor.
Right. Yes.
Because a lot of people and I'm guilty of this, going oh my God, my job's so bad, or this is terrible, or this, and expecting them to fix it. It's like there's a healthy way and an unhealthy way to everything. And I think, you know, being able to share something with someone, just to let them know, you know, so it's protecting the relationship is super important, but it's that element, it's the intention to protect and to do things for the benefit of that relationship. That's super important.
You know, I've put this under the sort of central expressions because central expressions always gets misconstrued. People think that sensuality equals sexuality, and it's really just being in tune with your senses. And being a person that's, you know, very empathic and spiritual, I've always been very in tuned into my senses, where it has been very, very misconstrued through my years as being a sexual invitation. And it's like, if somebody is very, very engaged with their senses, and very enthusiastic, you know, I think if you are pursuing someone, if it's a sexual relationship and that's all it is, okay. But if you're pursuing somebody as a potential lifetime partner, I don't believe, and this is not being prudish, this is just being, I think, kind of defining a relationship. The sexuality, even if you're turned on by someone, shouldn't be the forefront. You know, because there's something about the foreplay, you know, the wooing before the screwing, so to speak. But you want to build some, you know, some connection with each other, that when you do finally get there, it's a connection like no other. So we're in a society that very much that puts that sex up front. And I think that can get in the way of building a relationship. What do you think? Am I just being a prude here?
I think my take on this is whatever works for you and whatever you're comfortable with, because that's super important. There's no one size fits all. And I think if someone is a bit of a scallywag, they're going to be a scallywag before and they're going to be a scallywag after.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, sex doesn't change if you're a nice person or not.
Right. I mean, if it's forefront sexually driven, then you kind of wonder, can there be anything else? If it's not around the sex, is there anything else there?
I think it depends on where the attractions come from in the first place. Because we assume that, you know, sex is all about this level of attraction and things like that. It's often this. So with attraction, and this is super interesting, so I've sort of had a look at all these different elements, whether from like, you know, masculine to feminine energy and all these different things. But my actual take on this is if you feel like someone's an equal to you.
Mm.
Because there's this element of saying, wow, I can rely on you. I know that I can fall back and you can catch me. But as soon as we're with someone who we don't feel that with, suddenly that attraction and that sexual attraction goes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's often what we're looking for. So I think sometimes it's how we interpret it. And I think sometimes we know the difference of if we're pursuing it for purely just a sexual reason, and whether we're actually pursuing it for a connection.
Mm-hmm.
And usually there's that conversation, just before something happens anyway.
And don't feel pressured.
Yes.
You may have a sexual things and they're all hot and thingy. If you really do want to explore that this is a relationship that goes deeper than that, and you go, no, not now.
Yes,
and that other person is pressuring you, then they're not looking for the same thing you're looking for, right?
Yes, well, they're not thinking of you.
Right.
And I think it's like, this is where it comes back to, like, what works for you? What's going to feel good? And I think there's a real underestimation of like how important emotions and feelings are. Like you said, that sensuality.
Yes.
Because your body will tell you if it's right. Your body will tell you if it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's just your job to be able to listen to it.
Well, that's the main ingredient, isn't it? Is listening to our entire senses. Our senses are there for a reason. And it's like our emotions are there for a reason. If we're feeling sad, mad, glad, happy, whatever, it's a reason to feel that in that moment. What's making me feel like that? Oh, it's a temporary feeling. I can let it go. I can spend it, move on. No, this feeling is lasting longer. I need to really look at this in order to release it before I become emotional about the emotion.
Yes, exactly.
Attunement, I think, is really, really important. But I think that's probably one of the hardest journeys I think people make in any form of relationship is the relationship with self in trust, love, and caring and compassion. Self-love, I think, for so many people is one of the hardest things to find, because it's always that persecution that we're so very good at.
And I think for me, for what I've found, is that it kind of falls back on this identity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, what's the story that you're telling about yourself?
Yeah.
Because if you're constantly telling yourself, I can't be loved, or if I'm loved, I'm going to be abandoned, or I'm not worthy, or whatever it might be, as soon as you go into the behavior of, okay, here's self-love, here you go.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much you do, you're either going to sabotage it or you're just not going to be able to enjoy it and accept it because your body's going, well, this isn't you.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, trying on an outfit, that's completely out of your style, and you just go, oh, this just feels uncomfortable. I don't really want to see me like this.
Yes. Everything suddenly is bulging everywhere, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's taking that story and saying, okay, well, is it true? Because that's a story that you've created as a child. And it's a story often created to protect yourself as that child,
which we carry on into adulthood, and it's our defense mechanism, and it's not working for you folks. Having self-confidence in your life and who you are. I mean, we talk about this in business shows, is that when you are presenting yourself, people are going to buy who you are before they're going to buy anything from you, right? If they feel confident in who you are and how you're representing yourself, the resonance of which you are, and the essence of you, that's who they, I can now trust this person. I want to do business with this person. I feel them. I have a connection, right? But if you're not that connection with yourself, how can you share that connection with anyone else? So that inner journey is, I mean, the hardest journey you'll ever have in life is that one into, why is this child so vulnerable? Why do I feel so apologetic for my existence? Why do I feel I'm drawing the narcissists all the time? And it's like, what is it about you yourself? Is it your patterning? Is it your personality style? Is it something that you only feel validated if you're doing that? And we've got to be willing to ask those questions, don't we?
Yes. And I think it's this level of, once we've asked those questions, it's that level of like that self-acceptance. Because it's like that's where it starts. If you can't accept your past, if you can't accept where you are now, you can't move forward, you can't grow. You can only grow when you've got to that place of, okay, this is who I am. and I feel comfortable with that. Or I don't really like this bit, but that's okay, I'm working on it.
Right.
Because if you haven't got that acceptance or even that self-awareness, you don't know what you're working on. You don't know how, you don't know where you're going. You don't know how to do it.
And
or even if it feels possible.
Right, the possibility of it, yes. And I also think there's various levels of your own self-development. You can step into love of who you are as a person. I feel confident in who I am and how I portray myself and what I'm here to do, meaningful purpose, calling, whatever. But it still may not translate into a partner relationship, right? Because there's still that, will they accept me for who I am? Will they try and change me? Will they want the old person? And it's like, it's dragging your past insecurities. But however you have stepped into your own self-love now, there is that little disbelief that, will anybody love me in the same light I love myself?
Yes. I think the thing is, it's like we were talking about, it's like when you were saying about that thing of like, okay, will they like me, or do I have to do this for them, or kind of going into that kind of mode. It's, do you want a relationship like that to begin with?
Right.
Because often we need to see the pain or see
the
kind of moment. And also the other thing that I love to say as well, would you like to be in a relationship with someone like that?
If you're having to work so hard
to
be seen or to be heard, then clearly they're not the person with the right vision.
But also, what does it feel like to be in a relationship with someone who's going, I'll do that, or I'll look after you, I'll do this. And it's like, you don't get to connect with the person. It's like, even down to silly things like, oh, do pretending to like the same foods or to like the same films and stuff. It's like,
oh, I love tripe.
Right? Because it ruins the depth of connection. And if you haven't got that depth of connection, then you haven't got a relationship to begin with. So and I think as well, coming back to that sort of self-love element, one of the most well-used steps that I use for this is actually asking people, okay, what do you value in a person?
I'm just about to bring that one up.
Yes.
Are your values in sync? Right.
Yeah, but even like saying, okay, like you said, are they in sync? Yes. Do you like do you value someone who's got that sense of humor?
Yes.
That sense of valuing work or being a caring person or whatever it might be, and having a look and saying, okay, is that you?
Yeah.
Because the funny thing is, most people go, okay, I really value someone who's loyal, someone who's caring, someone who's loving. And then when you turn around to say, okay, what would it be like to be in a relationship with that person? Amazing. Okay, cool. Out of 10, how many are you out of 10 on these different things?
Right.
Oh, I'm really high. Wow. So what would it be like to be in a relationship with you? And people forget that.
Yes.
People forget that they're actually a valuable person to be in a relationship with.
Right. It's not about, again, I mean, especially for music and peer reoccurring pattern, do I matter in somebody else's life? That's, my little nemesis traveling with me all that time, because I'm a doer. I'm a giver and I'm a doer, and, that's who I am, here to serve. And it's kind of like almost the mistrust of somebody wanting to do something for me. And that's been, I kind of had to have my cosmic 2x4 and my bottom out for me to learn to receive, because I didn't trust I didn't trust the giving. What's the agenda? What do you really want?
Yes.
And it's like, I give freely, but you're giving freely? I don't believe that. I know there's a cost to it. And it's really, if you're in that mindset, it's hard to come out of it. It's still something I battle with, but it's because we look at relationships almost as transactional. Right. And it's like, well, what are you getting from me? What do I have to give to you? And if you're kind of getting down to that, and it's not obvious, then maybe it's not meant to be.
I think it's quite funny because, like, as you put in the group, like, is it easier to give or is it easier to receive? And someone came up with this beautiful answer and said, yes, definitely easier to give, because you don't know where the person is, the person who's giving, you don't know where they're giving from.
Right. Yeah.
I freaking love that. It's exactly what you just said. It's that thing of like, can I trust that person? But the other thing is what I tend to say to people around this is, what is it like when you give a compliment to someone? Because when we actually start to feel like, what would it take to actually do something nice to someone? What would it actually take from inside of us to go, do you know what, I really want to do something to help you?
Yeah.
And it's connecting to that. It's making us realize, okay, well, that's actually what's coming up in a lot of people when they're saying, okay, I want to give you something. But what's it like when we actually go, no, I'm good, thanks. No, you put that away.
Right. Or what do you want back? Or immediately,
yes.
I've got to give you something back of equal value, you know?
Yes. Yeah. And we're taking away the pleasure of
yes.
giving for that person.
Yes. That's been a very hard lesson for me, is that we're talking, you know, the greatest gift you can have is actually in the giving. Yes. And if you're denying someone that gift of giving because you're not accepting or you're not trusting that gift, then you're almost slapping your own self in the face.
Yes, exactly. And the funny thing is it comes back to like, okay, what's the story? What's the story around receiving? And like you were saying, it's like this, sometimes it's this thing of like, okay, I need to give back, or well, am I good enough to be able to receive this? Or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And we're thinking, you know, yeah. And it's like, you know, understanding where is that stemming from? And also, what would happen if you were willing to be able to be in a place to receive? What could happen? Because people often don't go to that place.
Right. It's, you know, it's the old, okay, I may not be able to give back, and maybe I'm not meant to give back, but how do I pay it forward?
Yes, yes, exactly. And I've been very, very lucky to have such amazing mentors who've actually, you know, given a lot of their time for free, you know, to support me. And a big thing for that they've turned around and said is like, there's the joy of being able to give.
Yes.
You know, being the joy to be able to see someone's journey, or to do all this stuff, to actually do something with someone who actually appreciates and enjoys. And sometimes the appreciation and the joy is just enough. It's not to say that we don't want to give more, but
no, but that's the give back, isn't it? And it's like,
yes,
you know, we occasionally I will get somebody, you know, this show changed my life, or thank you for the show, I changed my perception of this and that. And it's, you know, you don't always get the comments, and so when you're putting it out there, you don't know. But when you do get something coming back, thank you for this, or, you know, the shift was there. Then you go, okay, yes, you know, I know it's working. And it just encourages you to carry on doing what you're doing, right? Because you know it's working. If you're doing it always looking for that, well, why aren't you grateful? Why haven't you said thank you? You're doing it for the wrong reason from the wrong place, right? So don't expect anything back other than knowing that perhaps you've made a difference in that person's life that can just help them move forward.
Yes, it's like that 3 levels of love. Have you heard of that? You know, it's kind of like looking at this thing of like, okay, the first level is almost narcissistic. You know, they're unable to love, they're not in that place. You know, often people are alcoholics, have addictions, that kind of thing. Then you have, you know, well, this tends to be very self-absorbed. Then you have the next level, which is the transactional phase. I'll do this, you do that, yes. Then you've got level 3, which is being able to, you know, give because you want to give.
Yes.
And then there's actually another one, but it's not very well talked about. And that's kind of like, you know, a guru level where you love everyone and anyone. And it's this kind of enlightened state. But most people get stuck at level 2. So if you make it to level 3, you're doing freaking amazing. So there's probably only a handful of people in the world that have reached that level 4.
Yeah. I mean, be the love you seek.
Yes.
You know, spend your love. How other people use that love is up to them, not you.
And also, because that's so true. And I think the other thing is, because this is a big lesson I had to learn, was remembering we all love differently.
Yes.
Because, oh gosh, for me, you know, my love languages, you know, words of affirmation, physical touch, that's the way where I feel loved. My partner's is acts of service. So I'll be
Mm.
like, oh, why haven't you hugged me today? Or why haven't you said you love me? But I've had about 5 or 6 cups of tea made for me throughout the day, you know? So it's almost like even communicate, you know, what do you need? What do you
Yes.
need to be able to feel loved? Because that's the thing, you know, you learn to, you know, collaborate together to create the relationship that you want. That's the important bit.
Yes. Yes. You know, kind of what you decide, what will make you feel loved. And for me, it's if I'm in the arms of someone, their arms are around me and I feel home.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
it's just that this is my place,
yes.
right?
So your physical touch,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
affection.
Those arms around you,
Yes,
they mean it. We've got each other. We've got each
yes,
other. This is our sanctuary. We're home. We can weather anything
yes.
together.
I love that. Yes, because you can't fake a hug, can you?
No, you can't. There's the and the
Right?
and there's the oh, you can put me down, you know. But it's that, you know, it's that hug, and I've always described it like the empty arm syndrome, where you feel you need to have your arms around someone and let that
Mm.
love flow through your arms. And, you know, I do it with my children. They know I'm a hugger-wugger. You know they've got to hug
Oh,
mom. You know, mom's the hugger. And of
yes.
course, the baby, you know, it's like, mom, stop devouring him. And then they do the same, you know, you just can't
Oh,
help it. My little
yes.
grandson, you know. I used to do it with my dog. There'd be lipstick on her all the time. And, you know, I'm just one of those people. I need, you know, that because that's my love is bursting from me and it wants to go down through my arms and connect. You
Yes,
know,
there's
so
something so
yes,
energetic
yes,
about physical touch, isn't there?
yeah. Well, we
Mm.
are all energy. And it's
Yes,
how we use our energy is how is it going to be received and reciprocated, right? So
yes,
you know, plant your seeds, water and nurture them, but be careful what seeds you're planting because that's what's going to grow. What you
yes.
feed is what's going to grow. And if you're doing things from a place of love, because you have become the love, you are the love, then that is what's going to be received and reciprocated. And also the ripple effect, right? That's
Yes,
going to go out there. You know, we look at love and we immediately think of relationship as a child or relationship with a partner. And we forget about the central love of life, of being connected to life, to living, to what we're doing, to the exuberance of life, the companionship, the, you know, the friends, the collaborations, the everything. That if we can do it from that place of love, then we're creating a
yes,
love platform that ripples out and invites love back.
yes. I freaking love that. Absolutely love that.
True
Because
hippie, love us all.
you know, you almost question like, why can't everyone be like that?
But you know,
This is
I
so
mean,
much
I've
better,
always
wasn't
been a
it?
person from love, but I was a wounded soul. You know, the
Mm,
love that I was giving was just looking for someone to love me back. And if
yes,
somebody loves me back now, that's wonderful. Would I like to have a partner that you know we can feel sanctuary together? Fantastic. I don't need it. I would like it
yes,
because I've now become the love that I sought for. And I didn't
yes.
realize it was with me all the time.
Oh, and that's such an important lesson.
Mm.
Such an
Got to go,
important
you've got to
lesson.
be willing to go through the process though. You've got to be
Yes,
willing to look at like, why did I invite that narcissist twice, 3, 4 times? Why did I keep doing that? What was it about these people that I was attracted to and that I felt that I
yes,
needed in my life? Because being their coach, the counselor, I helped them, so it made me feel needed, right? Then when they
yes,
didn't need you anymore, you didn't feel wanted.
yes. Exactly. Exactly. And I think it's so important because, you know, you think about what's out there at the moment and you look around for the dating advice and it's say these 10 things to make them fall in love with you and you know send these texts and oh you'll win his heart over if you just say this sentence. And oh god, I actually looked at the sentence just for a laugh. It was like, I believe in you. It's like, oh god.
Vomit.
Yes,
Yeah.
because it's not sincere, it's not
Yeah.
true. And
And
it's
how can you
looking for
believe in
this,
someone you don't know?
right? And it's
Right.
also looking for this level of external, like these how-to logical
Yes.
steps to enjoy emotional love. No.
Yeah. And it's like, I love you, twinkle, twinkle in the eyes. And it's like, well, what do you love about me? Everything. No, break it
Yes.
down.
Yes. It's like it's when love turns into this strategic game
Yes.
rather than just being able to connect and go, I see you, you see me. I think one of the things that really surprised me going into my relationship was like, whoa, I can be seen as a human.
Right.
It's
Yes,
like,
I
wow, I can
count.
be,
Yeah.
yes. And I think in the first few weeks of our relationship, I kept saying, I can be human around you. And it was
Right.
just this profound thing, after being, so focused on protecting myself after narcissistic relationships and things
Yes.
like that. So, I'm actually safe.
Yes. That's kind of been one of my, I'm a very spiritual person, and that's the kind of spiritual energy I put across there. And, for most of my life, it's been, she's a freak, right? So, because of the things I do and see, and I can be around people and suddenly they look at me and go, you see me, don't you? Because I have a way of seeing people from the inside out. I can see your core. I know you're trying to pull the wool over your own eyes and my eyes, and it's just not working. So I make people feel uncomfortable. But kind of I consider that part of my job, because I'm shaking you up to your own
Yes.
facade, right? And I'm very open about my own insecurities, because I've been trying to fit into a dysfunctional humanity, and it hasn't worked, and it's upset my own equilibrium. But when I stay in my own zone of energy and my own spirituality, whether I find that person that can match that energy or not, it doesn't matter. It's like, I'm safe here. I feel at home here. I'm enough here. Right. So,
Yes.
it's why we always looking for that someone. I want to belong. We all want
Ah.
to belong. We all want to belong, but you got to belong to yourself first.
Yes, well, not being funny, even a relationship. I mean, yeah, I love my partner very much. I don't belong to him.
Right. Exactly. We're
I'm not
not property.
right. It's like I don't suddenly become his pet or vice versa. We're equals. Yeah.
Pat me on the head, whack my tail. Yeah. Yeah.
And it kind of comes to this like patriarchal thing, doesn't it? But it's like,
Yes.
at the end of the day, if you want a true loving relationship, you need to be equals. You need to be equals. That's super important, because if you think about how self-aware people are, few people are. The last thing you want is suddenly a dance partner who's going to go ahead and tread all over your feet because
Right.
they're not self-aware. So it's having someone who meets you where you're at, that level of equalness, because that's the only way you're going to have that healthy relationship. Otherwise, you have the parent-child dynamic, or this push-pull thing, and it's just yucky.
Yeah, and it's exhausting. It is.
Yes.
But let's look at what is equal. It doesn't mean your bank balance has to be the same, your job positions have to be the same, your status in society has to be the same. It means that you're equal of heart and energy and love. And that when you come together, I have a beautiful picture that I have of a man and a woman facing each other, and then in the middle is a face that faces out. We want you,
Nice.
I have a butterfly tattoo. It's two butterflies forming an X, and the X in the Celtic runes is gift. It is a gift of partnership. So this tattoo was done for the gift of partnership with my children, right? We don't want to lose ourselves or become something else. What we want to do is that complementary. I complement you, you complement me, and when we come together, we are indestructible because of that complementary way of looking at life, living life, and being to one another. But it's not losing your own identity.
Yes. Yes. So true. So true. It's like I said, it's being seen, in being accepted, and being loved for who you are, and vice versa.
Now we can talk about dating, because you are you know, you found that love of self. You know who you are. You know what your boundaries are. You know what you're looking for. You are not out there with a fishing rod, you know, to catch the next fish. You're out there to share your energy and looking for people who will match it. So, you know,
Mm,
now we're looking at the dating game, and it's hard for people to meet people. And we talked about this in the group. Where do you go to meet people? Right. And, you know,
yes.
I'm a person that works 7 hours a day online, and I don't belong to groups or things like that, churches or anything else. And it's like I don't really, unless it's accidental meeting, get out to meet people. And we're
Mm-hmm.
in a totally different structure of how we meet one another nowadays. But you know, how do we meet people? But also, don't be afraid to approach someone if you're the woman. Don't wait always for the man, right?
So I'd say the focus is, to begin with, before you even think about dating, is understanding who you're compatible with.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like we were talking about before, you know, when you're looking for a partner, you're looking for an equal. So I've actually got a compatibility matrix on our website that people can go ahead and check out. And there's 6 really fundamental core elements that are really important to check out. So it's looking at things like, okay, what are your goals? What do you really value? What are your interests? If I said, okay, you're going to go ahead and talk about something for you know, 3 or 4 hours without changing the subject, what could you passionately dive
Yeah.
into?
That
Because,
I
you know,
that I would be connected to.
yes, yes. Because the last thing you want to do is suddenly go on a date and you've got someone chatting to you about football. And it's like, oh, to watch football? Yeah.
Yes.
You know, you're never going to feel that connection. You're going to feel resentful. You're going to feel bored. You're not going to feel connected to that person. So it's kind of like this element of looking within again, like what's going to suit you, what are you going to really enjoy? And you know, if I think about my partner and I, we love psychology. We could happily
Yes.
talk about psychology, body language,
Yeah.
profiling, you know, all these different things. And the other thing that we prioritize is this element of personal development and also personal growth. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we love the aspect that we can grow as individuals and grow as a couple. And we also accept that our greatest strengths, you know, our individual strengths and our individual weaknesses are the strengths and weaknesses of the relationship.
Yeah.
And that's super important because you suddenly realize, okay, it impacts a huge element. But these are the bits that I'd be looking at to begin with. So there's 2 options from this place. And I usually work with people very intensively on these areas because it's so important to get right. I don't believe in go and stand in a bar and, you know,
Yes.
hopefully someone, so dangerous and it's just so wrong. And what type of people hang out there and what type of people are
The
going to
wrong
approach
invitation.
you? Right, right. And you know, I think a lot's changed as well with the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
You know, most men, most people are afraid of being able to approach someone.
Yes.
You know, just in case of what that means or being
Right.
threatening or anything like
Sexual
that.
harassment. Yes.
Right,
Yes.
yeah,
I only said hello.
So when you actually have that understanding of who's compatible with you, it's really important then to take that and say, okay, what do I want people to appreciate about me or understand about me? So when you're looking at, you know, creating a dating profile, create it from that space. Let's say that you love English literature. Great, chuck that on there.
Right.
You know, it's not about, you know, most people tend to go and say things like, oh, I love a night in with Netflix and a bottle of wine and chocolates. Everyone freaking does. Be
Yes.
different.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You know, so it's being able to have something where people go, wow, okay, I love English literature too.
Yeah.
Great, I'm going to connect with that. And the other thing is, if you're thinking about, you know, connecting organically, again, what's those interests? Where are you going to meet someone with that kind of interest or those kind of values? How can you recognize that? Because that's what's going to make your dating experience so much easier. And like I said, I've had people meet in as little as 21 days, being able just to take that concept and run with it.
So online dating, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is probably the only way I'm going to kind of get anywhere with it. And, you know, it's also, I remember going on one online and putting my thing in there, and I talked about what I want and the area that I wanted it in, and I ended up with people from all over the place with mullets and wife beaters. You know, and it's like, and I get pursued all the time on social media. Oh, you're pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Are you this? You're that. Are you single? Are you that? And I just say
Mm-hmm.
married, married, married. You know.
Yeah.
And it just gets to be a ball because half the time you think it's a con or it's, yeah, no. But it's which dating site do you go to? How do you know that that person is authentic? And, one can even have like the virtual coffee first before meeting someone, right? And kind of look for certain signs and things.
To start off with, before we sort of dive down the online dating route, what makes you say that that's going to be your only option? Because this is the thing with, where you don't have to go out. It doesn't mean if you're not going to go out and meet people locally or meet people in events and things like that. It's not to say that you just have to automatically go to online dating. So there's still other ways to play around with it.
I want to know, baby. I want to know.
For example, my partner and I, we didn't meet online, and we didn't meet on online dating. We met on a love for things like hypnotherapy, for example, and that's how we met each other. We lived about, I think, 150 miles apart when we met. So it's not to just suddenly discount, the opportunities that are out there. Because at the end of the day, if you meet the right one and you recognize that they're the right one and they recognize you're the right one, you're going to do everything to make it work. You're going to prioritize each other and prioritize that relationship. So kind of going back to this online then, the other thing that's really cool is that with the profiling that we have, we're able to teach people how to profile an online dating profile. So, for example, we had someone who joined our team. And before I take anyone on, if they say that they can do something, I love to be able to test them out first. And this guy, he is a real life Sherlock Holmes. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
So he can, he's actually been asked by the English police force to solve crimes without leaving his house. Which he's happily done, with the information he's had, and he's managed to work
he's
out
a deducer.
Yeah, he's incredible. And he said he could, deduce loads of things from profiles. So I was like, okay, then, well, I'll see how good this is. So I went online and I actually found an article about a guy who was a murderer, who was a paedophile, who was done like crazy, disgusting crimes. And on that article, there was his dating profile. So I took off those pictures from the article and set it up like I've just done screenshots and said, okay, what can you tell me about this person? And no word of a lie, I got a voice note back. He was in the bath, so I could hear dripping in the background. But he basically told me everything about that person within 3 minutes. He said, okay, this guy is violent. This guy, he's dressed in this way, which is telling me that he wants to sort of attract children, and so he's got paedophile tendencies. He's got, he's married because I can see X, Y, and Z. There was all these different things that he came up with in 3 minutes. We've actually got the video on our YouTube channel as well for people to check out, because it shows how much you can take in.
Right.
From just a picture,
Yes.
Seeing someone's, facial expressions.
Yes.
To see if there's someone who's emotionally available or not, for example. Seeing their lifestyle, because you're going to see the background. You're going to see the things that they enjoy, because they're going to put that on their profile. If they're more of a social person or a person who likes to be alone, I'm more of a hermit. I love being a hermit. Yeah.
I'm an extrovert introvert, so I like being introverted.
Yes, I am that. Yes. You'd be like, yes, I can go and do a 4-day event and love it and work the room, and then that's it. Afterwards, It's like, yeah, I need a week off.
Netflix and a bottle of wine and chips.
Yes. Yes. But yeah, and then once you're able to do that, you can basically get a good feel for that person before you've even sent the first message.
Right.
And then the messaging thing, oh my gosh, you can read so much as well from that. So
Yes.
I've been able to tell people, okay, that's a narcissist. Or that person, the way they've constructed that sentence, they're lying. So there's so much you can even pick up from there. So you're staying safe and making an informed decision before you actually decide to go ahead and meet that person in person.
Right. Right. Yes. It's and I think also, if you're projecting out with good intent, that vibration in your profile, that is going to get picked up by somebody with a matching vibration.
Yes. Yeah. And I'd say as well, because you also have narcissists who recognize kind people.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Moth to a flame.
Yes. And the thing about narcissists, they are the most gregarious, charming people you will meet. So if it's too good to be true, which is that first, that's how it feels, question.
Yes, yes. And then you can get as well, and these are more difficult to spot, is the covert narcissist.
Yeah.
And they are the pity parties. So you have the overt narcissists that you said, everything's great, too good to be true, it's amazing. And then the other end of the spectrum, the covert, they like to be the unsung hero. And kind of love to be the victim, and they'll look for that adulation and that build up, that's the the compliments and things like that for their identity from that person, but from an underhanded way.
Yeah.
Like, you don't love me, do you? Oh, I managed to do this for the things. Do you think they'll appreciate it? Oh, yes, you're a very good person for doing that. They kind of do that kind of thing. And that can be
they're
hard.
energy suckers.
Yes. And they're tough to spot at times, but they're even tougher to spot when it's a woman.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, looking through my friendships when I was younger, it was like, oh my gosh, no wonder that friendship didn't last when I started learning about personal development and things like that. And it's like, yes. Oh, yes.
Yes.
It can be a journey.
Oh, God, as my son will say, Mom, you really know how to pick them. And he's talking about his dad as well, and there was a recent event for my son's birthday. They bought this wonderful Airbnb by beautiful Lake Carriage, and it's lovely. We were all there celebrating my son's birthday, and his dad was coming in, and I was going to go home. But there was a 20-year storm there, trees down and power down. And it was like, no, you're not going anywhere, Mom. It's because I have a particular area that can be very dangerous to drive in bad weather. So it ended up being there. And then my son was saying, I want to talk. Dad, why can't you show love? Why can't you be there? Why can't you do this? And he started going into stories of his youth, which kind of explained why he was always about, you got to be tough and protect. And then he said, I think I was a good father, but I know I was a lousy husband. And it was like, yeah, he was never meant to be husband material. I was teaching him how to love through his children, and I was, I was there to show him what he could be. And as a spiritual counselor, I was his counselor. I was there for all of that. But I was still not enough. And I never would be for somebody who has never felt enough in his own life.
Yes. And from what you've shared with me, it sounds like this is the interesting part. Like, when people have gone through, this is a common pattern, I've gone through this too, when we go through like narcissistic patterns of being with narcissists, what we tend to do is we tend to go to the complete opposite end of the spectrum. And this is where we get, and I don't know any too much about your ex-husband, but from the little you shared me, I'm guessing there could have been a mother enmeshment pattern.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And that's exactly what we do. We go, oh, okay, I've been controlled. Cool. I'm going to be the healer now.
Yes.
And the beauty of that is, like you were saying, like the perfect example of what you were saying. It's like, oh gosh, they've been seen.
Yes.
And there's
then
often
yes.
And that's a resentment of, a resentment of their mother as a child.
Right.
And that gets projected.
And then they loathe you. Right. Yes. Yeah. Don't repeat my mistake, please, folks. Learn from it.
I've been there. I get it.
And then I got drawn to someone else where we could. I mean, I'm like you. I love the psychological conversation that can go on 8 hours. I hunger for that. And I found somebody like that. We went into business together. Then we fell into a relationship together. Very kind of hot and passionate for a short period of time. And then his attention span is elsewhere. And then it was gone. But we kind of lived under the same roof for another 9 years, even though the relationship was gone. And it was like, that's why my kids say, you picked up, Mom. But it it was the same thing. I kind of took him out of his cave and showed him what he was capable of. And then once he was capable of it, I could no
Yes.
longer serve him. Right.
Yes.
So,
And I think
yeah.
this is the other thing as well. It's like when, because my partner and I really had to find the balance, even with business and our interests and
Yeah.
things like that as well. And, you know, I had a very codependent pattern. So the first thing I wanted to do was like, come on, you can come do the business with me. We can
Yeah.
do this together. It's going to be amazing. And it was like, you know, it kind of took a lot of the chemistry out of the relationship.
Yes.
And it was like, oh gosh. And sometimes like this is where people suddenly, you know, suddenly think, okay, how can I bring that chemistry back in? Why is the attraction gone? And it's this element of having space.
Yes. You
And that,
need your
oh,
alone time. You need your
right.
me time. It's important.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And it's like, you know, you need that. It's like coming back to the first thing that who you are is this individual
Yes.
person.
Yes.
And we, you know, I think with all the TV and the conditioning and
Yeah.
everything, all of a sudden we're expected to be like this.
Yes.
And it's like, no,
Glued.
yes,
Glued.
yes. You know, you're both two individual people building a fantastic relationship together.
Yes.
And it's also being comfortable with the space. And I think that was one of the hardest parts of my journey, because I was like always, you know, even down to when I think about when I was a baby, I had colic as a baby. So my poor mum, she used to have this thing that she'd just keep me tied to her all the time, because even if I was sleeping and she was trying to put me down, that'd be I'd be crying.
Right.
I could happily do that as an adult.
Yes.
Just hang off someone,
Yeah.
you know, just to be close to you.
Yeah.
So the thought of space back then was like terrifying. It was like, oh my gosh, but I'm gonna die. Can I touch you? Can I just
I was the other of the spectrum there. At the age of 2, the Asian flu went round England, and I got
yes.
asthma and eczema, and I was in and out of hospital. And the moment I started sneezing or coughing, I was put to bed. No TV, no tablets, no phones, no radio.
Yes.
And I would spend hours upon hours upon hours and weeks and days and months on my own. And yeah, I'd get my meals, or if I had an attack, they were there. Otherwise, I was on my own. And that's kind of when I started kind of doing my dimensional traveling and you know, really diving into the other worlds, because my own world sucked. And it was also being a highly spiritual person in a world that didn't understand it. And so I went through my life feeling completely and utterly alone, even in a crowd. And, you know, but now I've got to the point, I'm no longer alone. I'm no longer lonely. I love my alone time.
Yes.
I like time with myself. I'm no longer lonely.
Yes. And I think as well, if you, in terms of partners and things, actually meeting someone who appreciates or is living that spirituality too.
Yeah. Oh, huge. Has to be.
Yes.
Has to be. Otherwise, they don't get me. I am entirely
Exactly.
that. You know? Yeah. I'm an open book. People say, well, listen to my shows. There I am. You know, that's Sarah. And I can be too much for certain people, because my energy can get rather high. And you know, if I'm too much for you, then I know you can't cope with me. So that's okay. Right?
Yes. I think that was something that Joan and my partner said around to me and said, it's like, I don't have to dull myself around, you know, down to be with you.
Yes. Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's
like,
yes, you can handle all of it.
Yeah, and you know, along with that energy also comes not the crash points, but the recharging points, where you just simply want to be in that space, recharge, switch off. And you know, and there's, well, I want to do this now. No, you know, I can't do this now. It's recharging time. You know? Ask me when I'm fully charged. You know.
Yeah, that's when you go, good, then I'll see you later.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I think, you know, you talked about somebody having football. Or fine, if that's your interest, great. That's your passion. Go off and play football. It's your outlet. It's what you do. I don't necessarily have to hear blow by blow. You can come back after a game. I had a great game. I scored a goal. It was great feeling. But, you know, it doesn't have to be where the soccer takes over everything. It's the same as somebody may have a different passion from you. Understand and want to participate in each other's passion, to hear why they're so passionate about it and what a good time they had. But it doesn't have to be a step by step. And you've got to enjoy my passion because it's my passion.
Yes, like I said, you know, it's like, you know, talk about compromise. It's like you're
Yes.
compromising yourself if you're going off
Yes.
and doing something that you don't want to do.
No.
And also, it's
Why
like
am I
that
in the
being
freezing rain, cold, watching these idiots
right,
kick the ball around?
right. And, it's the thing of like the element of being able to bring something different into the relationship as well.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
when people are able to go off and have the to go off and see their friends away from you, there's that space, and within that space there's desire. There's
Yes.
you've got that space to miss each other a little
Yes.
bit, to sort of fantasize about each other a little bit, and then you've got that amazing connection time to reconnect over something. Because if you're living Groundhog Day,
Yeah.
tied to the hip to each other, you're going to have nothing new to share with each other.
Exactly.
No, exactly.
There's another word that we haven't talked about that really opens up to that. There are so many people that get jealous of your friendship relationships, especially if it's with the opposite sex. You've got to be having an affair with them. You can't be friends with the opposite sex. Or even like, I was a huge volunteer, in the schools, and it's like, the volunteering, got jealous over that because the attention wasn't on them, right? So if the person is saying you're spending too much time with your friends, or you're doing this and that, red flag. Red flag. It's their insecurity that they're imposing upon you, and you I mean, if it's like you're spending more time with them than the other, that's different. You can question it. But if it is now, no, I don't want you hanging out with those people.
Yeah, I think it's a real importance to find what works for both of you. Because, for example, if you're in a situation where you can see someone has not got good intentions, and you see the partners around that person, that's like, I often see like jealousy as either two things. It's the fear of not being enough.
Yeah.
Or there's just an element of not feeling safe.
Right.
And it's distinguishing which two are they, and then understanding what you need. Because I know a couple who are super self-aware, like a crazy amount of background in psychology and social engineering and all these crazy things. And when one has to go and travel for more than 8 days, their partner will come with them.
Right.
And that's the way of them feeling safe and feeling connected. So it's almost like when we talk about relationships, there's none of this one size fits all.
Yes.
It's finding what works for both of you and collaborating.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, if let's say that someone's got an issue from the past and they're going, oh, well, I was cheated on in the past, da, 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 da. Yes, okay, it's not their job to help you heal. But there's this element of, okay, do you care enough to allow me to feel safe?
Right.
Compassion.
I will heal in that relationship the more and more I feel safe with you.
Yes,
right.
because that's what you're building. You're building up trust. Jealousy often comes back to self-worth and trust.
And the need to control someone, that is also coming from an insecurity, because if you feel that you need to control someone, the fear of losing them, or you've got to be empowered over them, then again, that issue is within you. And one thing I think we need to understand about narcissism, and depending on the different degrees of it, a narcissist will never admit they have anything wrong or that they're doing anything wrong. It is always your fault. Don't try and fix them. Don't try and help them, because it's like the alcoholic. Until you admit, I'm an alcoholic and I need help, you can't help them. You can't help anybody unless they ask for the help. And then, now please guide me to healing myself. I admit what I am. A narcissist will never admit what they are. It's always everybody else's fault.
Yeah, I mean, a true narcissist cannot be cured.
No.
Because when we're talking about empathy, when we are given a compliment or have something bad happen to us, so a compliment will actually release serotonin and dopamine into the brain, and that's more addictive than a class A drug. So that's how we control people through empathy.
Yes.
Well, if a narcissist is not getting that spike, and not getting that drug, that need to be filled, then there's no juicy carrot for them to change. There's nothing there to go, okay, this is going to be beneficial, because what's benefiting them is that level of control of how to
Yes.
manipulate people.
Yes, they get a kick out of it. That's their
Yes.
adrenaline. Yeah. Yeah, I know you've got this wonderful program that is coming up. I mean, I was a part of this kind of delta, whatever, you know, alpha, whatever program there. And I love the way you're doing it, because you have a bunch of women in the thing, and it's just asking us questions, and it's asking us to throw into chat, and then you're going to devise kind of a program from that. So tell us more about that. Also more about what you actually offer your clientele.
Yeah, so one of the main things that we do is the Love with Intelligence Academy. So with that, we've got the Meet the One guarantee within that. Basically, because it's so freaking good that we have people meet the one, and plus, I find that so many programs out there say, yes, okay, come and do this dating program or whatever it might be, and they don't get the result. I don't want to be one of those people. I want you to be able to enjoy that relationship. So we go through everything from healing, from evolving your approach, to understanding how to profile, understanding how to attract the right one, how to fully connect on that deeper level, and then how to actually develop that relationship so it can be long lasting as well, because no one gets taught on how to develop and create a healthy relationship.
The sustainability of that relationship,
yes.
Right? Oh, I've got them now. We're going to live happily ever after. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The end. Yeah, yes. It is actually the end of your relationship, because nobody's shown you how to sustain it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the thing, we live by these fairy tales. As soon as they get married, that's it. The
yes.
fairy tale's gone. It's like, okay, well then what?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Reality comes into it, folks. And then what do? You're not prepared for the reality.
Right? No. And then we fall back either into what parents did before, or if we really disliked what they did, we do trying to do the completely opposite.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So you've got this wonderful other program coming up. So that's the big program that you have, but there's other group thing that you're doing right now, which I think is marvelous. And I think it's really invitational. Of course, you do one-on-one, but you do small groups and bigger groups. And there's some camaraderie to being in a part of the group, because you know that, we're all going through it, and we can laugh about it, like, you asked us, what one question about what's your fear, and I go, well, my age, I'm 67, right? And the other was,
fantastic.
farting.
I wouldn't put you there.
Thank you. All an illusion. And the other one, I said farting, which is actually true, because you end up that you have some physical problems down the road as you get older, and you kind of like, does anybody want to take you on with those physical problems? Right. And that's actually becomes a real fear as you get older, things don't work as they used to. And, with a guy, you always assume he's want to go out with somebody younger and, more energetic, and you can't match that energy. And it really does become kind of a self-stigmatization.
Yeah. It comes back to, what do you prioritize about you? Because nothing doesn't matter who you are, you're always going to have something where you're like, oh gosh, I'm not happy about this, whether it's think about emotions, whether it's about a logical side, whether it's about a physical side, spiritual side. It comes back to, what are you prioritizing? Because if you can suddenly look at the good bits and go, wow, someone can be in a relationship with that, someone can really value that, and then it's meeting someone who values that and also has that element within themselves too that you can connect on, then all the other bits and pieces don't freaking matter.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, so I actually had one woman on that and it's sex after 70, and she basically, her libido completely had gone due to the drug she was on, and she went back to her daughter and said, I want a bit of sex drive. And so we changed her medicine. And she said, well, how do I get the sex drive? And he said, watch porn. And so she would actually go into the stores and kind of buy the porn things to try and get herself self-stimulated. And she's written this great book on, sex life after 70, because for a lot of people, you're too old. No, we're not. I have the oldest person I've interviewed is 89, who took on a new lover 3 years ago.
I love this.
So
they actually say that more people are actually sexually active after 70.
Right.
That's what they actually say.
Yeah.
You've got less stress, no work.
Yes,
so you're able to really enjoy it.
More time. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it ain't over until it's over, right? So, don't buy into that
Exactly.
stigmatization. So, I know you've got this group coming up. Do you know when you're going to be having that and everything?
Yeah, so that's going to be launched on the 3rd of January. So that's a 8-week program, and it goes into healing from narcissistic relationships, previous relationships, and getting to a place where you're able to actually enjoy a relationship and how to go on and find that type
Right.
of
Yeah. They're
relationship
ready
too.
for the action. Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yes. And it's what was it? The Einstein said, the state of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again. And it's like, we know it hasn't worked. And we know that if we don't shift our programming, if we don't kind of insert a new program, a new approach, a new dynamic to it, we're going to repeat the same old thing. And you may be
Yes.
aware of it, but having somebody take you through the ABC steps of it, where you can go, okay, I know I do that, but I can now actually press delete on that. Right?
Yes.
Or I can recognize when it's coming up as a red flag and go, down you go, you know? And
Yes.
and it's having those techniques that allow you to do that, which is really, really important, because we may be aware, we know we're repeating the same patterns, and we can say, well, I'm not going to do it next time. But if you haven't really gone into the deep level of that programming and changed it, I guarantee, take it from me, you're going to repeat the pattern.
Yes, exactly. And there's such power in awareness.
Yeah.
There's even been that study, hasn't there,
Yes.
where, with the protons, or is it
Yeah.
protons or molecules or
Yeah.
something? They carry out this experiment, get XYZ result, and then they try to do the experiment again with a camera watching the particles or protons or molecules or whatever they are. I can say I'm so scientific. And because the camera's watching them, the outcome is completely different.
Mm.
And I think, if that's got that level of consciousness, well, it shows that when we have awareness, we've got
Yes.
consciousness of what we're doing, we have the power to change it. And that's just super, super important on that journey.
The terminology, change your tune. Where,
Yes.
what is tune? It's frequency. What is frequency?
Mm.
It's hertz. What is that? It's vibration. What is that? It's energy.
Yes.
So when we change all our tune, our energy, frequency, vibration, and everything else to a different channel, we're going to get different kind of music.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that. That's brilliant.
I have to have you back again. You're an absolute delight. It's been a
Oh, thank
pleasure having
you.
you here. And I said, I love your program with what you're doing. There's a sense of humor in it. There's a sense of camaraderie in it, but there's also a sense of realism, and it doesn't matter what age you are. We all would love to have somebody in our lives that to love, because that's what we're designed for, to love and be loved in trust and in collaboration and companionship, and to know that we count in each other's lives, right? That's what we're all looking for,
Yes.
whether it's a full-time thing or, like you live separately and you come together, it doesn't matter. That's up to you how you're going to, design it. But it's just finding that someone that you can share with. And we're designed for that. My left hand, my right hand both do different things, but when they come together and they lock how strong they are. Right. So
Yes.
we're looking for that. We're looking for that lock there. And we all deserve it. We all do deserve it. We're all meant to have it, because that's what really we are meant to be as human beings. We are love. We can spend that love. We can share that love, and we can find that love. And if we could all actually scientifically rise our hertz up into the love vibration, we actually will start being healing not only to humanity but to this planet, because this planet is very out of balance right now, because the humans on it are extremely out of balance. So we not only owe it to ourselves, but we owe it to the planet, the next generation, and to this, to everybody that knows us, to get in sync with ourselves.
Yes.
Love thyself first, right? And then share your good vibrations.
Yes, I love that. I mean, we never regret real love, do we?
No. Love is all, love is all. It is.
Yes.
And as corny as it is, it is. Love is all. And, when we truly actually understand what love is and all the beautiful dynamics of love, all the beautiful layers of love, then we actually truly understand what is the meaningful purpose of life.
Oh, yes. Yes, I couldn't have said that any better. Beautiful.
Now, how do people get hold of you? Can they have a conversation with you beforehand, or can they sign up for various levels?
Yes.
Tell us all of that.
So the best place to check us out is our website. So that's lovewithintelligence.com. There's also an opportunity to book a 15-minute insights call. So if you do want to learn more, or if there's a specific problem that you're struggling with, we can work that out with you. And then there's various free trainings and things like that, as well as our programs too.
I know you're based in England, but you're international.
We are indeed, yes.
So it's just a question of, aligning the time zones, right?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we've got people all over the world, Melbourne, Canada, New Zealand. So it's been brilliant. I love all the accents.
Yes, I've got a boring English accent here today.
No.
I love what you're doing, keeping love alive. We, as I said, we're all deserving of love. But before we go out and seek someone to complete us, we've got to learn to be that love ourselves, and then we'll find somebody that will complement us. So
yes, that's so important, that complementing, element.
Complete yourself.
Yes. That is the message.
Yes. Be your completion, and then you will find your collaboration, right? Yeah, exactly. That's very, very important. And be compassionate with yourself. We're so good at beating ourselves up and persecuting ourselves and letting external judgment, become the inner judgment. And it's just lighten up, please. Lighten up. I don't care what mistakes you've made in the past. They're in the past. You know better today. Apply and move on. Thank you so much, my darling. I know it's bedtime for you over there.
Oh, no, thank you so much. No, I really appreciate it.
And I really would like to have you back on again for sure. And, we all need help in our relationships, with self and, with love. And, my wonderful 88-year-old that I live with, she lost her fiance 4 days before the wedding. He was killed in a drunk driver. And, but she went on to have 56 years of companionship, not lesbianism, companionship with a woman friend, where the love for each other, they live together, they travel together, sometimes they work together, and they had such a bond of love. So, your relationship may not have anything to do with being a sexual relationship. It may be just companionship you're looking for, but whatever you're looking for, somebody out there is looking for the same, and you're just waiting to find each other, right? So do the inner work so you can find the outer experience. Thanks very much, Lily.
Oh, thank you so much.
Until next time, folks, be the love that you seek. Bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. You will hear many, many shows here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. We have new shows for you out every week. Just find them on our podcast or What's New. If you feel that you have something to share that makes a difference in the lives of others, or you too feel that you could be a host, please contact me at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com, and we will be glad to speak with you. Have a wonderful day.